Recorded on February 16, 2026 at Smith Rock State Park, Story Booth presents a conversation with Oregon Outdoor Alliance founders Van Schoessler and Gary Bracelin. This session preserves and showcases the origin and mission of the OOA to foster connection, innovation, and growth within Oregon's outdoor sector.
Check, 1, 2. Here we go. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, we're demonstrating our ability to produce outside. So,
yes, you are.
This is why we're part of Oregon Outdoor Alliance right here.
That's it.
What we're doing.
Yeah,
you know?
we're doing it in the outdoors. We're
so
representing.
Here we go. I mean, 14 years ago, I bet you guys never pictured we'd be sitting at Smith Rock doing this. No. I mean, think about what you guys have started. Yeah. You know, Oregon Outdoor Alliance. This has been a really fun project to prepare for because I've learned a lot. So, you know, who's the audience for this? It's people in the outdoor industry. It's fellow Oregonians. It's you know, fellow Americans, other states. I mean, the ripple effect that you guys have had in terms of community inside the outdoor industry has been really remarkable. So I wanted to start by saying bravo. Like, you know, we're here today to kind of share the story of OOA, and every story has a beginning. But I thought for context, we're going to start with a little audio from Susan Streibel, just to let our listeners get a little sense of what OOA is.
OOA just became this resource for people to get to know each other, to get into the outdoor industry, to find jobs, look for candidates, get help with a particular challenge they were having in their business. And so that's really what Van and Gary and others started with Oregon Outdoor Alliance. Every affinity group needs a group to coalesce around that is driving the community aspect and places for people to gather and share ideas and support each other. That's what OOA was really born around, and I think it's just a model and inspiration for anybody in any industry that wants to feel more connected. And I think we all want that now. I mean, we talked about COVID, and it's sort of I think during that time we really realized what we were missing, and that's that human connection and that in-person experience and those serendipitous moments where you find yourself talking to somebody that you just met and you realize they hold the solution to the problem you've been trying to solve. I mean, the universe just works in those amazing ways. I think that's the bigger theme is people who are seeking inspiration around human connection and community could turn to this podcast and hopefully be inspired to start something or join something like this.
Cool.
Gentlemen, well done. You know what I love about what Susan highlights there is the value and really any professional organization is not necessarily the industry that the organization is built around, but it's the people with the shared passion within the industry that become a community. And that, when I listen to that audio, that's what I hear. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to kind of learn, like I said, this ripple effect. So, you two were at the beginning of this story. So I thought, for listeners, like I've told Gary before, I'm convinced that anything new, whether it's a brand or an organization, is kind of an extension of the people that start it. Mm-hmm. And you two both have fascinating careers in the outdoor industry. So many people listening to this will know your guys' story, and hopefully many people won't, and they're learning about this for the first time. And so I thought I would let you guys kind of introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about, kind of some of the highlights of your career in the outdoor industry that positioned you well to kind of pivot into this kind of early leadership role of forming this organization back in, or being chosen to start investigating this organization back in 2011. So Van, my friend, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for pulling this together. It's really fun to tell this story, and I think it's important to tell it because we're here in 2026, with a great organization, and it's fun to look back on it and how it started, and I think it's really important to understand where it came from. So yeah, I have an outdoor industry background. I was with Eddie Bauer for a number of years, so I have a retail background. Was the gear guy at Eddie Bauer. Got to do all the fun stuff, developing backpacks and gadgets and watches and sunglasses and all that stuff at Eddie Bauer. Super fun job. Was with them about 10 years, and one of my vendors was Stanley thermos bottles. So I had an opportunity to go over to Stanley and be the product manager. And this is a 100-year-old brand that, at that time, to be honest with you, was kind of running out of gas. And the company that bought Stanley hired me to kind of come in and say, here, Van, what are you going to do with this brand? And I sure didn't want to screw it up. And so we worked on a point of view that was outdoors. Let's take Stanley the outdoors, camping, really enjoying the social part of the outdoors. And that's what the brand really became. Super fun ride as a product manager, but then I really enjoyed sales. I mean, that's me just being out front, even as a product manager, working at the trade shows, working with the buyers. Really enjoyed going out with the reps, talking about the line and stuff. So pretty easy transition into sales. Became the sales manager and had about 35 reps across the country that, was I call it cat herding. Gary knows about that. He's got all of that in his background. And
yeah, the sales process really in any industry, but especially the outdoor industry is a wild ride, man. The cast of characters that make up the crew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so as a sales manager, I could really base just about anywhere. Stanley's based in Seattle, but they were okay with me moving to Bend, Oregon. And so I transitioned to Bend, still, traveled out of Bend for my territory and went up.
What year was it you moved to Bend?
2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hard to believe that 16 years ago.
I know, man. It's gone fast. It's gone so fast.
Yeah.
And so, had, when I landed, I guess I expected to see a lot of Gary Bracelins around and where's my peeps, and it was a little hard to connect, to be honest with you.
And by that, you mean people like fellow outdoor industry veterans, like people who have made a career of
our tribe.
Yeah.
Where's the tribe?
Yeah.
And I think that at that time, 2010, you think about it, that's a recession. And it's funny, my wife and I were pulling into town with a moving truck, and we saw moving trucks going the other direction. Like, where's everybody going? And I think a lot of it was obviously, Ben was on a downturn.
Yeah, that was an interesting time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So keep going with that story because, before, because that'll be a nice spot for because I'm imagining that's around when you guys met each
mm-hmm.
other. Yeah, was kind of some of that early 2011 community gathering
mm-hmm.
with this focus in mind. So. Yeah, very cool. Were you with Stanley, like with their whole kind of rebrand to all the colors and like this new? I've been really impressed
Great
with.
question.
Yeah,
probably became one of the hottest brands on the planet. No, and part of me's sad that I missed that, and part of me's happy. So I left in 2018.
Okay,
Stanley.
Yeah,
and so they really geared up in 2020 and brought in this whole idea of color, selling to females. The younger, the better. Just. That brand got hot across the planet.
It did.
Social media came into it, influencers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, someone nailed it. And someone nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. All right, well, thank you. All right, Mr. Bracelin, Professor Bracelin, I've learned so much from you in the last 18 months, buddy. But tell a little bit, people who don't know you, about yourself.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I guess I have a similar story to, Van is I worked in the outdoor industry, first as a rep and then later had a rep group and then as a sales director and consultant in the industry, building brands on a national, global level. Moved to Bend in, 34 years ago, 91, 92.
Yeah.
And, really moved here because I wanted to be closer to the outdoors and participate in the sports that I was promoting and selling.
Which was primarily snowboarding.
At the time, it was primarily action sports and snowboarding. And, really thought, as Van said, that there'd be more outdoor people here. I mean, I was living in Portland and, the wife said, let's move to Bend. And I'm like, that's a great idea. In those days, the WWSRA demo days was here, and there was a lot of accounts in town. Bachelor was a big account, and it's like, I'll actually get to spend 2 extra weeks a year at home, and by living there, and really thought there'd be more outdoor community here, and it was really kind of, it was small and disconnected back then, and you'd see people at school and see them at the trade show and see you back home.
Yeah, it's interesting, dude. I was thinking about this time, like this point in time, and why there wasn't a more established community that you guys observed. And when you start looking at kind of the timeline of the transition from Central Oregon from a timber industry to a recreational industry, that guys like Bob Woodward in the 70s, 80s, 90s were establishing these newer sports, but they were the exception, not the norm. It was a small town, so there wasn't that many people to, participate in these things. But by the time the 90s rolled around, those sports had been established big enough that where businesses were being built around them in urban areas, but the best place to do them was often not where the businesses were headquartered.
No, exactly. I mean, even when I moved here, it's like people are like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, same thing I do now. But the thought process back then is you had to be in a major urban area, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, Portland. And I wanted to move here to where I just rode my mountain bike out the driveway and went to the mountain.
Yeah.
I was 20 minutes from the mountain. It seemed like a huge disconnect back then, but the community's definitely grown since then.
Yeah, man. I mean, some of the infrastructure is to the point now where some of those hang-ups for, businesses 25 years ago have softened a little bit, in some ways, but in other ways they've gotten more challenging too. So
I mean, when I first moved here, you couldn't fly anywhere besides Portland.
Exactly.
That Seattle nonstop went in, and it changed my life. I could fly to Seattle and see REI, Zoomies, Mr. Rags, whoever else, Nordstrom's, and
Rags.
Fly home in the same day. It's changed.
I love it. So you guys both have the phenomenal backgrounds that we could do a podcast in and of itself on your own industry background. But you guys kind of, your paths kind of converge around 2011 when there's some interest from kind of the kind of civic leaders of Bend and trying to kind of spark some growth within the economy and new industries, trying to branch out from construction and hospitality and tourism and healthcare and, outdoor seems pretty obvious. Gary, you shared a list of, I think there were 5 areas of industry that were identified, kind of tech, outdoor, food. I can't recall the other ones, but you guys somehow got either volunteered or elected to kind of lead the charge on trying to grow that outdoor industry sector in Bend. Yeah. So talk a little bit about it. I mean, where did you guys first meet?
Well, I was actually part of an organization called, in fact, it's still around, Bend Economic Development Advisory Board, so BDAB. When I first got to town, I somehow got tapped for that. I think it was because I had an outdoor background, and as Gary said, that was maybe a focus for the the area to grow that. So I got to know a few people and got elected to BDAB and was on that. And I think, at some point we got EDCO involved in, interested in obviously diversify the economy here. So it kind of started with these, we call them round tables, but basically, getting some people together in the industry to talk about, what are some things we could do to grow the outdoor, community here. I mean, obviously it's a great place to start a company. Why isn't there more happening? And,
you guys were focusing on trying to recruit people in at one point, correct?
That was the starting point.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're, let's think about why would they do that? It was an easy way to, at that time there were other cities doing that. Now, if you look at that time frame, Ogden, Utah was big on recruiting. I think Boulder was growing in that vein, Salt Lake City. And what these cities were doing, they were giving incentives, business incentives, tax incentives, whatever you want to call it, at a state level, maybe a local level to do that. And we looked at that and went, wow, that's a good way to grow quickly. Let's try that. And so that was kind of where I think EDCO started. We were honestly along for it. We just wanted to help it grow, whatever. And they were more the leaders in that thought process. And we said, okay, how can we help?
Yeah. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those first attempts of, getting people to consider that.
Well, and to add on to, what Van was saying, I mean, it was coming out of the recession.
Yeah.
As they were trying to diversify from some of the industries that you were talking about. And both EDCO and the City of Bend and another group called Looking Forward had kind of identified outdoor, food and bev, bioscience, tech, and believe it or not, UAV.
Yeah, UAV.
Drones.
Right.
And those were the businesses or the industries they felt were already somewhat here and that they could grow upon to diversify the economy. And I believe it was EDCO started doing the outdoor roundtables and, hitting up some of us old timers in the industry to, come and they'd ply us with pizza and beer.
Sure,
and
man.
ask us for, names of CEOs or decision makers at companies, and they were going to go to OR and recruit people to move here.
Yeah.
But, getting a big company like Marmot from Santa Rosa or something to move here with 200 employees was
it's unrealistic.
And you'd go to OR and, those people come in a day late and they leave a day early and they're booked the whole time we're here.
Yeah.
And you can't just show up and shake their hand and go, hey, Ben's a great place. You should move there. And so, we kind of were part of that group that was invited to these outdoor roundtables. And, after a while, people quit coming because, food and pizza and beer only goes so far to get people to show up.
Yeah.
And we kind of started talking that what we needed to do was kind of turn the tables on the round table and make it a value for the companies that were coming and showing up. And that instead of trying to recruit companies here, what we really needed to do was support the companies that were already here and grow them and make something go on here in Central Oregon to create this synergy and to create this, flame that made everybody go, what the hell is going on in Bend?
Yeah.
And that's when I think things started to change.
Yeah, and I think what we realized too, the feedback we were getting at these, Gary refers to OR, it's the Outdoor Retailer Trade Show, it's the big national trade show. And so you think about the EDCO guys going down, great guys, they're economic development guys, they're not outdoor guys. And we'd even tell them how to dress. Don't show up in, and we called them shiny shoes.
Sure,
You got to look the look and look the part. And they did as good a job as they could to sell Bend. I mean, they did. I give them credit for the effort. But at the same time, the pushback was, A, it's a recession. We're hunkered down. B, where's Bend? Oh, and tell me about your infrastructure, your transportation, all the things that would, make a vibrant headquarters for a company to move here. And tell me about your workers. And by the way, if we hired people and they didn't like Bend, is there other companies they could go to? All that.
Sure, man.
Our answer was no, tough. And so some of that was like, I think that's when Gary and I also, with that feedback, we looked at each other and said, oh man, these guys don't get it. We have it here. Let's just build it.
Yeah.
And then that is likely to, like you said, light the match, and it's going to go from there.
Yeah.
You build it and they will come.
Well, I mean, 16, 17 years later, you know, like I said, what you guys built, like this, my business, Story Booth, is a direct product, you know, where we're at today is a result of, you know, because I know Bend Outdoor Worx and OOA kind of developed kind of at a parallel timeline with a similar mission, but a different focus, if you will. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's been many businesses now, not just from Bend, but across a whole state that have benefited from this. Like, it was really fun to spend, like, really learning about, like, just the network that you guys have created. And so yeah, so you guys, you saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I think, Gary, at one point you had talked to me a little bit about your old buddy Bob Woodward and kind of his RIP, his life experience and his kind of development of things and involvement of different other outdoor organizations like CODA and you know, so was he influential in kind of you guys in the early formation of OOA? Pretty big time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I consider Bob to be the OG outdoor guy here.
Right.
And when we decided, you know, we went to Edco and said, hey, we'd like to kind of take this thing and run with it. And they were the spark that started it, and we turned it into a flame, so to speak. But with their blessing, we took off and, you know, took the Outdoor Roundtable to OOA, Oregon Outdoor Alliance, and it just wouldn't seem right to do it without Bob.
Yeah.
And to include his wisdom and vision in that when he was, you know, one of the original guys we all looked up to. And I mean, I still remember as a young guy in the industry, and once I moved from, you know, I was in Portland in the industry and then moved to Bend, and everybody was like, what are you going to do there? You know, like I said. And one of the first questions when you'd be at a trade show or something and you'd be, you know, I'm from Bend. It's like, oh, do you know Bob Woodward?
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, you know, he's the mayor right now.
Sure, yeah.
He's on TV with Get Outdoors with Bob, right?
Man.
And so, yeah, you know, I was a young rep, and I was like, well, I'm going to get to know Bob, and, you know, because that's the first thing anybody in the outdoor industry thought of when you said Bend, Oregon.
Yeah.
Was Bob.
Yeah, he was way ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
man.
it was before I met Gary. Same thing. I'm moving into my house and flip on the TV and I see this show, Outdoors with Bob. I'm like, this is Bob Woodward. I knew him for the industry, and he had an industry newsletter called Snooze, and he was, you know, we'd read that every week, and he was up on. He published that, and he was up on everything going on in the outdoor industry. And like, I got to reach out to this guy. So.
Yeah, that guy was fascinating. Brilliant dude,
Fantastic.
man.
Yeah.
What I loved is, you know, you'd go sit down with the guy and you'd just start talking story, you know, and he'd come up with some story about Franz Klammer or Alberta Tomba, you know.
Yeah, dude.
You know, he'd been at the Olympics with them, covering the Olympics, and they drank all night long and then still showed up and won the gold medal the next day. You know, I mean, just the stories that came out of that.
Yeah.
He was the original OG, as you said.
You know, authentic guy.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but he had the same, in a way, you know, Gary and I, maybe in our own minds, had a dream, and he had a similar dream. And I think he felt that approach to, you know, to go to the outdoor retailer show, that was probably wasn't going to work, but he was willing. He did a lot of introductions. He played along with us, and when that didn't pan out, and we kind of pulled back and said, let's do it here, he was all about it.
Yeah.
He was all in. And really helped us.
That's
pull
cool.
together people, got the word out that we're gonna get together.
So you guys organized your first event at Pine Mountain. Keep that mic nice and close, Van.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to make sure we get the
even
best audio.
before that, you know, we reached out to Bob and some others and assembled that group.
Yeah.
And we met at picnic tables for many.
Right. That's right.
Weeks and that trying to figure out what this would look like. And, whether it was just a Central Oregon thing or statewide thing, there's OIA, Outdoor Industries of America, but come to find out there wasn't anything in Oregon that was a state chapter of that or anything. And I remember reaching out to Prosper Portland because they had kind of an outdoor thing going on in Portland and said, hey, we're getting this thing going on in Central Oregon and would maybe like to collaborate with you. And they were, our main focus is in Portland. And so, I think it was Bob that said, think bigger.
Yeah.
Let's take this statewide.
Yeah, man.
I think Van's got some good stories about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, some of this was a bounce out of that first meeting that we had. And again, I'm thinking back 2011, we had the Pine Mountain, maybe 2012. That first meeting, and I'm not just trying to think how would the word have gotten out. I guess we had, cell phones and all that. But anyway, you spread the word. Hey, show up at Pine Mountain, 6:00 after Dan shuts down the store.
Yeah.
We're gonna get together. We got some beer. A beer? Oh, really? Yeah, free beer. Come on. So, 75 people showed up at that first meeting, and it was amazing. Just the energy in the room. People that would say, "I didn't know you were here. Look who's here," and just introductions went around the room.
The spark, man.
The spark was lit. And,
yeah.
And I think at that meeting we definitely realized that there was enough interest and momentum in this idea that there was something behind it. Really, for me, it was that next meeting that we had at Hydro Flask and had a group of people show up upstairs in the old Hydro Flask building. Mm-hmm. And you started looking around and like Senator Wyden's representative showed up and there was politicians in the room and it's like, oh, wow. This could really be something because we are the voice of the outdoor industry.
Which is a big industry in this state, man. I mean, I had no idea it was over an $8 billion a year industry and just the state of Oregon. Yeah. And that doesn't include kind of the second, third order kind of industries that are affected through the outdoor, like tourism, it's phenomenal, man.
It's huge. Definitely huge. And it's kind of a well-kept secret. We want to get that secret out there for sure.
Yeah.
But, back to that. I want to reflect back and embellish a little bit that first meeting because a lot of things came out of that. For some reason, I was leading it, I guess, and I remember Gary, you spoke at the meeting, and Will from Roughwear. It's a Roughwear, locally based company. So you want to share his story why they're there. People in the audience were listening closely about what's going on, and I think Steve Curley from SBDC stood up, and we could start to see as an EDCO was in the room in a big way, a lot of their staff. So you kind of see that all of a sudden there was support there. There was you could almost imagine partnerships that could come together. And I think at one point Woody spoke. He wasn't big on public speaking. He was kind of wanted to be a low key guy. But we did say to him, Woody, you helped start CODA and the OIA. You were part of that. So what do you think? And he said, yeah, we should get something together. So we kind of, there was kind of a, at the end of the speakers and stuff, I said, hey, what do you guys think about getting together, as an industry more often? Everybody's like, hell yeah, let's do this. Everybody in the room was just all about it. And you could just feel the energy and stuff. And it was so great. And I think I just asked for volunteers to do a steering committee. I said, well, yeah, if we're going to do this, we got to plan some meetings. So, and then some hands shot up. Gary was in. Pam Stevenson, Renee Patrick, Rob Little, of course, Woody was there.
Yeah.
A guy named Nick Hill from Drink Tanks, and that became our core. It was a steering committee that just would plan future meetings, like Gary said, Hydro Flask, and we'd kind of go from there. But
yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I mean, it's Yeah, it seems to me like the growth early on was pretty rapid. I mean, it seems pretty quickly. You guys were starting to, like Gary was starting to allude to, like people were starting to take notice. Decision makers around the state and thought leaders were starting to see, maybe recognize this industry that's starting to form a community and starting to do stuff in Central Oregon. At what point did you guys, and I guess for people not listening, Gary, talk a little bit about this same time you started BOW, which is, a little bit more of a focused, outdoor industry specific startup accelerator brand accelerator program that, I guess my impression of BOW compared to OOA would be OOA creates a network of people in an industry where you can learn from each other. BOW is, it's like a crash course MBA in the outdoor industry, where when it comes, to brand development and all the way to, everything, marketing, sales, you name it. So, but, you guys just started your, what cohort is this? Good God. I was part of that's bad because I was just part of the last one. Well, 2026, yeah.
So I just say it's the 2026 cohort.
The next one.
I think it's like 14 or something like that.
That's amazing.
We've worked with over 40 companies now.
Yeah.
Half a dozen exits or whatever, but that's, not necessarily what it's all about. But, there's nothing wrong with a company that's a 10, 20-year overnight success story that, provides living wage jobs and
totally, man,
all of that. But both of them were born out of kind of the outdoor roundtable.
Yeah.
As I said, first, Van and I kind of went to Edco and said, hey, these things are, starting to falter out a little bit. And what we'd like to do is make them, of value for the companies here in Central Oregon and help give them a platform to share resources and get to know each other. Because, back in those days, there was nowhere that, all these outdoor people could come together and get to know each other better and to help each other and to share resources and provide peer-to-peer support. We went to Edco and kind of said, hey, we'd like to take this. And with their blessing, we did. And we saw that, quickly there was an interest in more support for the outdoor industry, and people wanted to connect and get together. And as Van said, that first meeting was 75 people. And quickly, the next few meetings got to over 100, almost 200 people showing up.
That's what I mean. This quick momentum, man, to the point where all of a sudden you guys were filing to be a proper 501c, huh?
Exactly. We knew we had something, and we weren't quite sure what it was.
Yeah.
We and to Gary's point, we had legislators showing up, and we're like, man, what does all this mean? And I think one of the things we just thinking about how we kind of wrapped our arms around that is what are we going to call ourselves? Who are we? And I think we spent some time early on just trying to figure out, well, if we're going to name ourselves, what is it exactly? Who are we to begin with? And then maybe you could come up with a name. And we wrestled with that for a while.
Yeah. And as you said, I think it was Woody that said, think bigger. Don't be Central Oregon Outdoor Alliance, be the Oregon Outdoor
Central
Alliance.
Oregon. Well, first we're thinking Bend. Well, we're Bend. Yeah, but what about Central Oregon? And then it went from there. And then Woody just stopped everybody and said, hold on. You guys aren't thinking big enough. He said, call it Oregon. He just claim it. And he said, this thing's going to be statewide eventually anyway. It's going to affect the whole state. And
it has. He was right on the money, because now you guys have expanded into.
We have 5 chapters now.
Yeah. So talk, which kind of regions have their own chapter?
Well, in addition to Bend, Portland, Hood River, Southern Oregon, and also Willamette Valley now. Yeah.
And then kind of, back to your question, Adam, we quickly saw what OOA could be. It's a platform for, outdoor companies to come together, connect, share resources, peer-to-peer support. And, that was kind of the macro. it was wider, but maybe not as deep. And so I think shortly after that, we saw a need. And at that time, the tech industry was really big. There was a lot of tech refugees, as I call them, from, San Francisco,
Sure,
Seattle,
yeah.
that were coming here. And most of the support in the startup was the tech world. And so, I kind of saw that we needed to give outdoor companies the same support. So where OOA was macro and helped provide and connect resources on a much broader level, that there was still a need in helping good companies survive that desert of death of good companies that didn't have good resources, right? So I looked at that kind of and said, maybe what we need to do is take this tech accelerator incubator model and apply it to outdoor products. And where, OOA was the macro and the connecting point for all of these companies, but couldn't really maybe go deep with the companies, that BOW would fill that gap.
Yeah.
And that we couldn't help everybody, but we could take a few companies and go deep with them and provide the resources that they needed. BOW was born shortly after, at that same time, out of the same spark.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we looked at, we started thinking about membership. What could that look like? What would be the benefits of being a member? And you think about, well, let's see, you got BOW as a partner. You've got EDCO if you need space, SBDC for coaching, Business Oregon maybe funding. So we had all these partners.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, if looking at it as somebody might want to join, that those are all resources for
Absolutely.
a company or an individual. So and we landed on our byline is connecting and cultivating the outdoor industry. And that's what we still do today.
Yeah, you guys do a really good job of it. And it's crazy that, you think about like passing out for beer money to like membership, registered with the state, like influence legislation and involved in legislation around, stuff that has direct impact on the outdoor industry, correct? I mean, like you guys have, weren't you in, what House bill was it? Like, I had it memorized and I can't remember. It's like 3350, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were you involved with that, man? Is that? I
have definitely had a piece in it. I would say on the bill side, but not as much. I wasn't in Salem, but I helped recruit the guy who ended up getting the job. And I was part of that, Road to the Outdoors, which really that group kind of led the effort to get that bill passed as well. And Gary was part of that as well, though. 3350, yeah.
Wallenfels and I both spent a lot of time in Salem crafting that bill for a couple different years, that eventually turned into House Bill 3450 or whatever.
Yeah, 3350.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I would have liked to seen you over in the Capitol doing that.
Well, I'm going back on Wednesday. Come with me.
Yeah, man. I might just
Gary
have to
looks
do
great
that.
in a suit and tie.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that look. But I mean, it is pretty impressive. You go from like 2011, like cold calling CEOs to come to Bend, to like 2017. That's kind of when all that legislation was starting. It's a lot of growth in a quick amount of time, in my opinion. Like having started a business, nothing good happens quick. It takes time,
Mm-hmm.
But to see the impact and the reach that you guys have done in a pretty short amount of time is pretty phenomenal, and it's inspired other states. I mean, I was reading there's like 17 other states have kind of developed and outdoor kind of industry alliances around, inspired by Central Oregon. And there's like a national organization, and I don't know when that State Outdoor Business Association, I don't know when that was developed, but this having worked and grown up in the outdoor industry, and then being passionate about outdoor activity, it's good to really learn about how this stuff works, because you take it for granted, So I've enjoyed it a lot. I don't know. I mean, do you guys have any advice for kind of the like people, either new entrepreneurs or people, kind of developing brands that have some degree of take up some space in outdoor industry, other than the obvious, just get involved? I mean, what talk about that a little bit. Just new people, new brands, outdoor industry.
Yeah, I'll just chime in, and I know Gary's got a lot deeper knowledge, but when I rolled off of Stanley in 2018, I started a little company called Base Camp Oregon. So just helping small outdoor companies grow their sales, and that's my lane. I love doing that. And so what I see in working with founders is, they start a company and they've got limited resources, right? And so they maybe are good at product, or they're good at sales or marketing. They're good at one or two things, but there's so many other things to make a successful business happen. And I guess what I see right away is just you gotta round it out. You can't do everything. First of all, focus, pick your lane, and that'll help you decide, or help you monitor your resources, and then get people to help you. You can't hire probably right away, but get contractors to help you, have a vision, and get some help to move your business forward.
Yeah, I mean, when you say you got to round it out, like what do you mean by that?
So I'm thinking sales, marketing, supply chain, finance.
All the different buckets that make a business run.
Exactly, to make it run successfully. And it's frustrating, I know, as a founder. You try to do it all, you can't. Probably don't either have the expertise or the time, and you start to burn out and or drop the balls or so it's and it's not always financially, it's not easy to to make those things happen either, to get people to come in and help you. But usually that's the way you're going to grow. And,
Yeah, and as Van said, usually entrepreneurs aren't good at everything. So you have to find, fortify your weaknesses and play on to your strengths. And in the outdoor industry, very often entrepreneurs are cobblers. They're product people. They want to make something better, faster, stronger, warmer, drier. They don't always know all the other phases of business. And that's something I think, we focus on in BOW a lot, is finding those weaknesses and fortifying those weaknesses. It's a lonely vacuum being an entrepreneur. You don't know who to listen to, which direction to go. And to Van's point, reach out, get help, ask questions, find people who are willing to help. And in Bend, we've been really lucky because there's a lot of those people. It's a very unique community. It's 1.5 degrees of separation. And, if you need to get to somebody, they're willing to give you the time to help you get to where you need to go.
It's so true and so unique.
Yeah,
and the talent pool is just mind blowing.
Well, that's one of the great things about coming to the Beer 30s. I mean, that's where you meet up with people. I mean,
I almost forgot, and I know Tin Barrel was an old sponsor. I thought, I don't drink anymore, so I got an Athletic, but I thought,
Thank you.
So
product placement.
You don't have to drink it. I might crack mine, but cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Yeah, this is fun. Boom.
I'm gonna drink mine.
Mm-hmm. You should.
But anyway, just to tie that up a little bit, I think those meetings, it's amazing who you'll meet in a meeting. You're in, maybe looking for a graphic designer or something for your business, and you come to a Beer 30, and there'll be 2 or 3 of them there. I got to talk to those guys, and things can happen. Like Gary said, this whole ecosystem in Bend is great for that. Just meet people quickly and people ready to jump in and help you.
And that's what OOA is all about. And I mean, I think that's, one of its biggest strengths is, I used to always make the joke, you could go to a coffee shop and build a company in this town by just, there's my product person, there's my sales person, my marketing person. but that's if you knew who those people were in the coffee shop, right? And with OOA, it created a platform to where we could all connect and share resources. And, a couple of my favorite stories about that is at one OOA meeting, I think it was a Christmas meeting or event, and I'm sitting at a table with my wife, and somebody comes up and says, is this space available? And sure, have a seat. And sits down and starts talking about how they're new to town and they'd worked for this big outdoor company, didn't want to mention it. I'm like, oh, you worked for Patagonia, huh? And, because I pegged them about that quick from what they were saying and what they were wearing. But, and then somebody else came and sat down on the other side of us and ended up hiring that person for a gig. And we've seen that at OOA meetings several times. People show up, you meet the right person, and you're working with them. Or another one of my favorite stories is, Tosh Roy had free-range backpacks and was, looking to make a differentiation of his product and was looking for a sublimation machine to be able to sublimate graphics onto his bags.
Yeah.
And connected him with a local company here that had a sublimation machine, and all of a sudden a whole new product line's launched for it.
Another local outdoor company.
Yeah.
No, it's the community,
just
man.
connecting the dots.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I everybody I spoke to, whether it was, and I didn't ended up using all the audio of all the different people I spoke to, but whether it was, Susan or Deanne, or I talked to
Renee Patrick, maybe.
Yeah, Renee, Dan at Pine Mountain. They all just had very fond memories of kind of like the relationships with the people that they formed. That was kind of the common denominator, right? It's the people. Which is why I opened with that audio from Susan, is because it really is about the people that you meet within the industry, right? Like it's all about finding common bonds with people. And most people that are drawn to the outdoor industry, you can maybe disagree about a lot, but you can, the shared passion of being outdoors, is a really good common interest to have.
Yeah.
More alike than different.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's some
Absolutely.
great people in the industry that have the passion for what they do.
Some of most of my best friends in my life, I met through the outdoor industry. I could easily say that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I love seeing that shirt you're wearing there, by the way.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene something or other.
Yeah.
I remember some Grom in a snowboard shop back in the day in Coeur d'Alene.
Did you know that, Van? The first time I ever met Gary, I was probably 13, working probably illegally in North Idaho in the snowboard shop, and he was our Moro rep, and I tuned boards in the back. Yeah, man, it was great. Yeah.
And here we are today.
Here we are today, buddy. I tell you that often. I'm lucky. Well, this is great. I wanted to play kind of a testimonial for you guys, but also just for listeners, as we kind of wrap up here. And I think this is the exact person you were just sharing the story about.
Okay.
So that's good timing here. So
the outdoor industry used to have the big trade shows where everyone would gather, and those don't exist. Outdoor retailer is being reimagined, so there is like this understanding that people need to gather. And so one thing that OOA has done that's great is it offers this chance for people to come together, creating this ecosystem that's pretty unique. As entrepreneurs in Bend, there is a really nice ecosystem that exists. I see OOA as being the kind of the anchor for the outdoor industry. Really, it's just this incredible network of individuals who are very excited to both share what they know and be welcoming. really understanding as a organization what your value proposition is important. And OOA has a lot of value propositions. One of them for us was we want to be engaging with local talent and knowing who's here. A lot of times you don't know, and we're a national organization, like we sell around the world, and we have people who work for us around the world as well. But we also really want to invest in Bend, and we want to be situated in Bend. And so going to an OOA, like we met our bankers, US Bank. And so we transitioned all of our banking here to Bend. And then we were needing some design help. I was at a Christmas event and met this woman, Emma, who had worked at Patagonia. It was a really easy way for me to meet her. We did a project together. And then another woman, Nicole, who had worked at REI and had worked at Nike, had so much experience on inventory. There's so much talent here in Bend, and it's hard sometimes to know who's here and who's not here and who's available. And so OOA is great for that. So I would say, if you're a person who's a professional who's either looking for some work, or if you're a company who's needing some projects or even needing a full-time employee, OOA is a great place for that. I'm Deanne Beck. I am the CEO of Brandwin, and we make performance innerwear designed here in Bend, Oregon. And I would say my last thoughts on OOA are it's just such a great organization, a great connection, and great people. And probably two of my favorites are who you're talking to, Van and Gary. Ask him how his jump roping is going. Get the biggest kick out of it.
Yeah. So how is your jump roping? Did you hear that?
I did.
I heard you guys have some jump roping challenges going.
I can do 21.
Yeah.
And Deanne does probably 121.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a great one.
Yeah. The really cool thing about, hearing all that is, a lot of times you'll be talking to somebody and they'll say, wow, Bend's really a hub of the outdoor industry. And it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool to hear. You get a little kind of smile on your face or whatever. And it wasn't always that way. As she said, it was fractured, disconnected. There was a lot of people here, but there wasn't a platform for us to all get together before OOA. And, I think, 12 or 14 years ago, people, weren't saying that as much.
Yeah.
And to hear it now, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool, man.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well said, Gary. That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
Well, fellas, is there anything that we didn't talk about that we should? I feel like we gave people a pretty good first pass kind of story of where OOA came from, why it developed, and who developed it. So I guess I would just, I'm a member. I would encourage any business in Oregon or in any other state where they have this type of professional industry alliance and community to lean into it, man, because it's there's the dividends. It's amazing. Like the value there is you can't really put a price tag on it, really, so. Well, thanks, fellas. This was fun. That's not a bad view for a podcast studio, huh?
No, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
First class. Even imagine this. So good for you and for capturing
class,
this,
man.
and what a
Thanks so
beautiful
much.
place this is.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to get to do our first kind of video production that was based on what we learned through BOW with you and you outside in the industry. We're sitting somewhere. Smith Rock in the 80s was one of the massive kind of sectors of outdoor sport that, created part of the buzz around Central Oregon.
Yeah.
Drew a lot of people here.
A ton
to
of
start.
people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, this is the birthplace of freestyle climbing in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, so like and I would venture to say there's probably never been a podcast produced out here like this.
You're probably right.
So thanks for participating, fellas. This was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Right on.
Cool.
Thanks.
To learn more and get involved, visit OregonOutdoorAlliance.org. Story